Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with the story of a Karen who didn't quite grasp the concept of off the clock. In the end, Karen storms out, defeated once again. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen doesn't understand how franchising works. In my late teens, I worked at a popular Canadian coffee and donut shop named for a former NHL player. I'll call it Trevor Linden's. There are many throughout my town, but I worked at one particular one near the waterfront. One day, I took my grandfather to the clinic for his weekly checkups. I didn't like waiting around the office, so I went down to the Trevor Linden's by there, got a coffee, and started reading a magazine, waiting for his call that he was done and ready to go back home. I was in no way wearing my uniform or anything similar to it, but one Karen knew me from my location and began trying to get my attention, as apparently the line was too long and they were a bit backed up. When I looked up, she swept the table with her hand, knocking over my coffee and some papers I had spread out, and said, "Break's over." I said, "F you, witch." Though I probably wasn't as polite. I wasn't done with that. She said, "You work for Trevor Linden's. You've helped me before. Get off your lazy butt and help out here," and proceeded to give me her order. The manager and an employee came over and asked what was going on here. The employee began cleaning up my coffee from the floor, while Karen told the manager, "Your employee needs to be helping rather than sitting here drinking coffee and reading." The manager said, "She doesn't work here. She can't help you with anything." To which Karen said, "Bullspit. She helps me all the time at waterfront location." The manager said, "That's nice, but this is the downtown location. She doesn't work here." When the employee finished cleaning up, the manager told him to get me another coffee, and Karen blew up even more. "What the hell for? She should be working. She's a Trevor Linden's employee. She should be helping me." The manager said, "Yes, she may work at Trevor Linden's, but not this one. Right now, she's just a customer. If you can't be civil, I'll have to ask you to leave." Karen fumed, but returned to her seat, and I thought it was over as the employee brought me another coffee. Side note, I have a pretty complicated coffee order, and I was impressed the employee got it right without asking me what it was. Maybe he found my receipt or order slip or something, but he got it correct the first time. I couldn't have done that without help. But it gets better. I was at my location a few days later when Karen came in and got in line. When she got to me, I recognized her, but slapped on my happy customer service face and said, "Welcome to Trevor Linden's. How may I help you?" She said, "Get me your manager." She was definitely out for blood. I continued smiling, said, "Sure thing," and went in the back and got him. He asked her what the problem was, and she said, "Your employee here wouldn't take my order and was disrespectful to me." My manager said, "Sure thing, what may I get for you?" Acting as if she meant right here, right now. Karen said, "No, not here, at the downtown location a couple of days ago." My manager said, "She doesn't work there." "Why did you expect her to help you?" Karen said, "She's an employee of Trevor Linden's. It's her duty to help all customers at every Linden's location." My manager said, "That's another franchise. We may all be Trevor Linden's, but that's a different location. She has no responsibilities there." "Now, is there something I can get you here?" Karen snorted, turned on her heel, and marched out the doors. I was more willing to help out and volunteer for that manager after that. Trevor Linden was my dad's favorite player growing up, so that's why I picked that name. You don't even have to help her at your current location while on break. She doesn't control your breaks. I would have put in a complaint about her to your manager just in case she showed up. And our second story. I made my coworkers' favorite snacks disappear for over a year. Let me start by saying I love my job, the location, the benefits, what I do, and most of my coworkers. We're a medium-sized tech company, and our office is within walking distance from my home, and we're in my home city. I know my home city has plenty of problems, but I still love it to death as it's full of such wonderful memories for me, and I vastly prefer it over the other places I've lived around the country. During lunches, we all eat together in our office. I'm a person who has always struggled socially due to difficulties communicating, but I try to make an effort with small talk since people tend to like me more if they've gotten accustomed to my antics. Yeah, I know, not ideal. Two of my coworkers, though, seem to be in it to rain on my parade for everything I say. They constantly poo-poo on the city, saying it's overrun with crime. It's not. The food is bad, the attractions suck, especially if I ever mention something I like about it. No other thing I enjoy is safe from such conversation. The books I like, the food I enjoy, the movies I watch, the cartoons and anime I binge, they always find a reason to crap all over it, even if they brought up the topic and asked me what I liked. In their eyes, the books are bad, the food makes me snobby, the moves are garbage, the cartoons and anime are immature, even when some of them are insanely popular things. One of them also will walk up whenever I'm telling a story and just loudly interrupt to ask a question to whomever I'm talking to. I'm definitely not good when it comes to interruption, and I'm working on improving my control, but this is just to an extent that I find rude. If I did that to someone, I'd hope they'd call me out on it, but I'm too cowardly to do so since I'm all too aware of how many social faux pas I commit on a daily basis. The other one has expressed some political-ish views that I find gross. They thought that if someone was stealing food from a convenience store, they should be sent to jail for years. And if someone breaks into a car, it should be okay for the police to shoot at them. I know crime, incarceration, and police brutality are controversial issues, but geez. In case anyone's wondering about cultural context, this is in America, and we're all non-white men under 35. 2 of us with immigrant parents, and the third, the one with the political views, has a work visa. So none of this is anything I can really do much about to make it stop, at least not without causing myself to lose a lot more in the process. So I've started resorting to subtle sabotage and mind effery to get some payback at these coworkers to make myself feel better. Our office is across the street from a grocery store where we buy snacks 2 times a week. Whenever we do, 3 to 5 of us go and get snacks for the whole office. I've noticed that these 2 coworkers enjoyed some snacks that no one else seemed to care about, a specific kind of jerky and a fancy cheese spread. About a year ago, whenever I was on one of those grocery runs, I'd wait until they grabbed their preferred snacks and put them in the cart, and then when no one was looking, I'd throw them back onto the shelves. I know that these 2 coworkers often mentally go to another dimension when I start talking, so I'll start droning about some BS topic that I don't care about, so they'll tune me out, then poof, the jerky and cheese are gone. If I'm not doing the grocery run, I'll wait until they get back and the rest of us are helping put the snacks in the office fridge and cabinets, then I'll find ways to make the snacks disappear. Sometimes I'll just tuck them away and eat them before anyone else gets a chance. Sometimes I'll give them to the office on the floor below as a gift. Sometimes if I'm working late until the office cleaning people arrive, I'll give it to them while striking up a conversation. Literally anything to ensure that those 2 coworkers don't get their snacks. They've definitely noticed the absence, but I'm subtle enough that they haven't figured out it's me. To leave some false breadcrumbs away from myself, I've made it so that sometimes when I am one of the people shopping for groceries and they're not, their snacks arrive safely. Neither one thinks a person is doing it. At first, they just keep rationalizing it different ways each time, but over time, they started losing their minds a little over it and keep getting bummed that they can't enjoy their snacks. This has been going on for just over a year, with their specific snacks disappearing about 75% of the time. I know I'm a crap person for this, but it's my perfect little revenge for these coworkers, who also inconvenience me in such a harmless yet hurtful way. Fun little game you're playing. Glad it makes you feel better. They sound like a-holes. And our last story. I bought a house, tore down the fence, and now my neighbor's saying he's going to sue us for the cost of the old fence. My husband and I had just bought a house last week, and one of the first things we noticed was the sad state of the fence. It was a disaster. Rotting wood, gaping holes at the bottom, and a gate that was barely hanging on. We knew it had to go, so we made plans to tear it down and replace it with a new, secure 6-foot fence, complete with coyote rollers to keep our dogs safe. We even got the green light from the city to go ahead with our plans. So yesterday, we started the demolition, excited to finally get rid of that eyesore, but as the old fence was coming down, our neighbor burst out of his house, screaming at the top of his lungs that we couldn't tear it down because it was his fence. I calmly explained that it was on our property, so naturally we owned it, but he wasn't having it. He claimed that he had paid for the fence years ago when the previous owners lived there. This morning, he was back at our door demanding that we reimburse him for the cost of the fence and threatening to sue us if we didn't. I decided to do a little digging, so I reached out to the previous owners. They told me that yes, the neighbor had chipped in some money for the fence, but only because it completed the enclosure of his yard. In other words, he got a bargain by only paying for one side of the fence, while the previous owners covered the rest. And then, just like he threatened, he actually sued us. We ended up in court, and I could hardly believe my ears when I heard him explain to the judge that he was suing us for tearing down his fence. The judge looked at him like he'd lost his mind and asked why he was upset about his neighbor replacing an old, decrepit fence with a new one, especially when we were the ones paying for it. But here's where it gets even better. After the case was thrown out, the neighbor decided he wasn't done. He went ahead and built a wall on the property line, thinking he was being clever. Except he didn't bother to get the necessary permits. A couple of weeks later, a city inspector showed up and informed him that the wall was illegal and had to be torn down. So now, not only did he lose in court, but he also has to pay to demolish the wall he built out of spite. Meanwhile, we're enjoying our brand new fence and our dogs have never been happier. Sometimes karma really does come full circle. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.